Okay. According to my time, it's 7 o'clock right on the nose, so we're going to get started. So I wanted to start by just saying good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight for our Harmful Algae Bloom training program. I'm Lindsay McMillan. I'm the Association Director here for the Canandaigua Lake Watershed Association, and I'm going to be starting you out on the presentation this evening, and you're also going to be hearing from a few of our HABs team program leaders who are going to each speak to different aspects of the program. So we have a lot to get through this evening, but we're going to try to keep it succinct so that we can finish up in less than an hour. Okay, so first off, thanks for being flexible this year by meeting us in this Zoom format. I know in years past, we've all tried to meet in person, which has been really fun to get you guys your volunteer materials and just interact with one another. But obviously with everything going on, we wanted to keep our volunteers and our staff safe. So we're meeting in this new kind of online format. So some of you may be familiar with Zoom, but in case not, we just wanted to go through a couple of basics and set up a few ground rules for the presentation to help streamline the experience. So we tried to mute everybody upon entry just to help eliminate some of the background noise. If you find that you're not muted, if you could go over to your where you see your image and just mute yourself, that'd be really helpful. We're going to try to save all the questions until the end of the presentation, where we're going to have like a designated Q&A session. But since you're muted, if you have a question that comes up in the middle of the presentation and you wanna ask it because you're afraid you might forget it, you can also submit your questions using the chat feature at the bottom of the screen, which you can see here. We've tried to highlight with the little red box. So we'll try to get through all the questions submitted through the chat feature in allotted time. And like any questions we don't have answers to or we run out of time for, we'll try to follow up afterwards in an email. So we'd like to start out by recognizing the partnerships that really make this program possible. Each of our partners brings a different skill set and technical expertise to the table. So we'll start out with the Canandaigua Lake Watershed Council, which is one of our more active partnerships in water quality programs. We've worked with CLWC since 2015, which was the first year of our recorded blooms on the lake. And they're our intermunicipal watershed organization, which is made up of the 14 watershed and water purveying municipalities around the lake. So many of you may have met our watershed program manager, Kevin Mulvaney, and his technician, Kim McGarry. And they've both been really instrumental in our efforts to help us take the information collected through our monitoring efforts and help put it into the context of our own local water quality. We also work with them to co-author the water quality reports and the updates that go out in our email blasts to our members in the community. And then the Finger Lakes Institute at Hobart and William Smith Colleges, under the direction of Dr. Lisa Kleckner, FLI provides analytical support for our samples that are collected through the program using a really cool instrument called a BVE fluoroprobe, which measures blue-green chlorophyll and helps us deem which of our samples are above the bloom threshold. And we also want to give a shout out to our partners at the Seneca Lake Pure Waters Association. So they're our sister organization over at Seneca Lake. They're also a citizens group like CLWA is. And we started working with them back in 2018 when they were kind enough to share their volunteer program framework with us, which is kind of what we've modeled our program after today. So we're going to be learning a little bit more about the online reporting tool that they developed a little later in this presentation. And one of our volunteers, Sally's going to go through that with you. And then two more groups worth mentioning, Finger Lakes Community College and Professor Patty Thompson, who's an active researcher on Canandaigua Lake. She does a monthly sampling program with the Watershed Council, and she's also working with CLWA on a new stream monitoring project this summer, which is really exciting. And then finally, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and our hub representative, Tony Prestigiacomo, who many of you may have seen at previous trainings, or if you've ever come to an annual meeting, he's often there and gives cool updates. So the DEC has been a great support of this program over the years and really provides guidance from the state level on harmful algal blooms. Okay, so who is CLWA? So many of you on this call are CLWA members and supporters and obviously volunteers, but looking through the list, I've noticed many of you are actually new this year to CLWA. So we wanted to just take a minute to quickly go through who we are as an organization. So we're a member-supported organization that has actually been around in some formation since the 70s. Our board members, volunteers, and supporters all share one vision, which is to protect the lake that we love from the threats that are facing it today. So we do it by promoting education and awareness, and by participating in scientific research and encouraging lake stewardship among all watershed stakeholders. So how do we do it? Well, this is how we do it. This is one area that we're really particularly proud of because so much of our work is done by our talented and dedicated board members and volunteers, so much like yourselves. So this is a graphic showing the various committees that CLWA operates under to accomplish our goals. So each committee works collaboratively to identify areas of focus for the organization. So we really are truly a working board. Each board member is encouraged to get involved in a project and like take on a leadership role. And some of these projects that we've shown down here, you may be familiar with. Under community outreach is our Lake Friendly Lawn Care program. And that's to spread awareness on what residents can do on their own properties to have a positive impact on our lake. We also have viewpoints programs, workshops in the community. And then, Watercraft Steward program is a big one that's overseen by our projects committee. That's the Boat Steward project that's at the lake's two busiest launch sites, the North End launch and the Woodville launch down in Naples. So tonight we're going to focus on the work of citizen science. So this is the framework in which the HABs program falls under. So this is one of our most active committees, and for good reason, really, because there's so much that we still need to learn about water quality because of the complex ecosystem changes that have been taking place over the lake. So all of these projects and programs really are helping us learn in real time more about our lake. So this is just a snapshot of some of our ongoing programs, which are the first three mentioned here on the bulleted list, including our Secchi Disc Water Clarity Monitoring Program, which is a weekly program that started in 2009, and volunteers go out and collect a Secchi disc measurement and take surface water temperatures and report all of their information online using like a data collection tool. So all the information collected, we get to see come in real time. And it notifies us of changes in lake clarity, which can lead up to a potential algae bloom. So it's actually really helpful this time of year. We're learning a lot about the lake. And then there's the Citizen Statewide Lake Assessment Program, which we have 2 sites on Canandaigua Lake. A couple of our volunteers I know are on this call, Marty Lasher, Steve Zumbo, Dee Crofton, have been participating in this program, which is actually a pretty intense data collection program. Volunteers go out bi-weekly and do a full suite of water quality tests and report them to the DEC, who provides an annual report to us. And then obviously tonight we're talking about the Canandaigua Lake HABs Shoreline Monitoring Program, and Lynn's going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. And then the last 3 bullets are new projects under citizen science. So the foam research project is something we started in September of 2019 by partnering with Drs. Rick Smith and Stella Woodard of Global Aquatic Research. And we've been looking at the composition of what makes up all that lake foam that we're seeing out there. It's one of the questions we get most as an organization: what's with all that foam? Well, we've discovered a lot, and we're really excited to start sharing some of our findings. So we're going to be wrapping up that project really soon and sharing results with our members, which we're really excited about. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be working with FLCC in 2020. So this on a targeted stream study program that's going to be looking in the northeastern quadrant of the lake at nutrients entering our sub-watersheds during storm events. So we started that program in June, and I believe it continues through November. And then last but not least, I wanted to mention this really cool project that the Finger Lakes Institute and Cornell University is spearheading, that CLWA volunteers are going to be a part of this summer. So it's a cool pilot project that's going to be testing this handheld instrumentation that integrates technology to test the toxicity of blooms in less than 1 hour, believe it or not. So a lot of these tests through these programs are very expensive. very timely. Sometimes it takes a couple of days after you've collected a water quality sample to actually get results. But this mobile test kit that is being researched could be a really cool piece of equipment to be used at public access areas and public beaches. So we're really excited to be able to be a part of that. And here on the right, you'll see a photo of the volunteers that are going to be participating this year. I took this photo last Monday when we did the training. On the far right is Dr. Lisa Kleckner of the Finger Lakes Institute. And then on the left is Evan Helming, one of the technicians that works for FLI, with all of our volunteers and their really long integrated integrated sampling sticks that they're going to be using this year. They're actually a little bulky, but we're really excited about being a part of this cutting edge research looking at harmful algal blooms. So again, that's just a snapshot of what citizen science does. And I mean, I could go on and on about the really awesome work of the committee and of the organization, but tonight we just want to focus specifically to the HABs program, get you guys some good information so you're ready to go. So to take you through that, I'm going to introduce Lynn Klotz, who is a Citizen Science Committee member. She's also our CLWA secretary and the volunteer coordinator for the HABs project. So Lynn, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Great job. So CLWA's first HABs volunteer shoreline program started as a pilot program 2 years ago, and we are thrilled to have grown from having 18 monitors in 2018 to 42 monitors this year in 2020. We couldn't do any of this without our mentors at Seneca Lake Pure Waters, and of course, with the support from the CLWA board and our partnership with the Watershed Council in monitoring lake conditions. You volunteers are now citizen scientists and are the reason we can provide relevant information about the ever-changing conditions to our association members, to the public, as well as communicate with private and public drinking water customers. I wanted to give a special thank you to Nadia Harview, a current member of the Citizen Science Committee, former chair of that committee and board member, for her guidance and modeling, and also to Lindsay Ayers, who is a HABs volunteer like Nadia this year. Lindsay also works part-time for our association. So some information about last year. Last summer, our 26 volunteers surveyed their zones over a 10-week period and collected 55 samples. It may look as though we were less accurate at evaluating blooms. 38 of the 55 were above the 25 micrograms per liter threshold for Finger Lakes Institute to consider sending on for toxin analysis, but there's a good reason for that. Since the DEC's slogan, "If you see it, avoid it," covers what to do when we see an obvious bloom, in 2019, we wanted to get a better picture about what the blue-green chlorophyll A concentrations were in almost bloom-like conditions. So we intentionally took samples from more pre-bloom or clearer looking water that had dots in the water column. And you'll hear that phrase again in a few minutes. Our goals for this year are to spread awareness and knowledge about HABs and what our mission is, engage more volunteers in visual surveillance of HABs, and promote open communication about water quality issues through our weekly water quality updates that are emailed, posted to Facebook and on our website, and among the partner groups, the Watershed Council, our municipal partners, health departments, and water purveyors. So here is our beautiful lake. We're so proud to have expanded the coverage from 16 zones 2 summers ago, and we can only have done it with your willingness to help. As you can see by the map on the left, the zones are color-coded by region, and inside your HABs kit, inside your bag, you should each have a map of your own region. And then on the right, those are the specific zones. You can see Sally is on the northeast, Lindsay is up top. Those are just for reference, but that gives you a really good visual picture of the coverage we're providing around the lake. So new in 2020, we have regional coordinators. Joel Pasternak is in the north. Ted Carmen is on the east. Lynn Thurston is on southeast. Southwest is Elaine Messina, and Dorothy Roach is on the northwest. So no special designation here. I just started at the top of the lake and simply went around clockwise. Lynn and Ted have a long history with CLWA, while Joel, Elaine, and Dorothy have a long history with the lake and are equally enthusiastic about supporting our programs. We welcome these five and value their effort and willingness to help manage our ever-growing program. You should each have either met with or spoken to and have received emails from your regional coordinator. Next to your name, you'll see an SM or VM, which stands for Sampling Monitor or Visual Monitor. Both roles are vital in reporting weekly conditions. Whether you are a visual monitor or a sample monitor was determined by several factors. One, if your location was in one of the typical HABs hotspots. Two, whether we wanted to expand visual coverage in an area not previously covered. Or three, if you are already involved in one of the other water quality sampling projects with us. But we value everyone. Thank you. And Lindsay mentioned Tony before. He gets his own slide in this presentation. He is our Finger Lakes Hub rep from the DEC. He's a great guy, very supportive. If you haven't watched the HABs training from June 10th, please bookmark it and watch it again, or watch it sometime this week. So here is a picture, dots in the water. We typically see this in maybe the top 8 to 12 inches of water from the surface. I find it easier to see it where there's a little bit of a shadow. You can also see some surface streaking starting here. So this could be HABs, but it also could be kind of a precursor to a more significant and obvious bloom. These are a little bit easier to tell. You can see thickening on the left photo and really bright green streaking on the right photo. These are actual pictures taken from last year's volunteers. Two of you may recognize these from your reports. And these last two were both taken in 2018. The one on the left is actually from our cottage. The one on the right is from Ontario Beach, which is not a swimming beach, but there are often bathers, paddlers, and dogs. So it's really interesting to see how different they can look, but they both tested, both of these particular photo samples tested well above the threshold. These are not HABs. And these pictures were all taken this year, this spring. The ones on the left, duckweed and watermeal. The one on the far right, filamentous algae, Spirogyra cladophora. And we've seen a lot of pollen, even dead bugs collecting. It can be really scary at the beginning of the season. But for more verification, our website and the DEC website have a lot of pictures to help you clarify. If you are not sure what you're seeing is a bloom or not, please take a picture and send it to your regional coordinator for confirmation. If your regional coordinator is not sure, they'll get in touch with either Sally, Lindsay, or me, and we'll let you know. So I hope you've all had a chance to look through your Love the Lake HABs bags. Inside, you'll find a folder which includes a reference guide with step-to-step instructions, a letter to neighbors, extra brochures about harmful algal blooms and your pets, about HABs, and about joining the association. If you are monitoring your zone by walking the shoreline, the letter to neighbors can be really helpful. We, of course, want you to have permission before entering anyone's property. feel free to write your name and address in the yellow highlighted box. Save one of those. You have 2 copies of those in your folder. Save one of them to make copies in case you have lots of neighbors you don't know. Or let us know and we can make them available by download. We found people are generally really receptive once they know what you're doing and how you're volunteering with Canandaigua Lake Watershed Association. Okay, our program begins on Monday, August 3rd and concludes on Sunday, October 4th. You're expected to monitor your zone and submit 1 report for each of the 9 weeks. Since we're limiting the number of samples to analyze, we welcome additional visual reports as conditions change, and that's whether you're a visual monitor or a sampling monitor. And Sally is up next, and she's going to cover the specifics about using the reporting link.
Thank you, Lynn. Hi, everyone. It's Sally. As you know from reading your volunteer HAB Shoreline reference guide, and I hope you all have, we have our own online reporting form, which you will use each week when you complete the survey of your zone. We chose to develop our own form so that we may have access to and maintain the data we collect from each of your surveys. This information comes to us directly and updates the HABs map on our website in real time. Having our own platform also allows us to customize the report so that we may gather information useful to our program. Once you submit your weekly report through our link, we will take the information you have submitted and provide it to the DEC through their NIHABs trained user website. Within a few days, you can expect to see your report on NIHABs as well. So I'd like, if people haven't done this already, we'd like you to bookmark the survey link on your computer or phone for easy access. We have provided bookmarking instructions for an iPhone in the reference guide, but this can be done on an Android phone as well. So with feedback we received last year from our volunteers, we've made a few changes which should simplify the online reporting, particularly in regard to the map function. We've also added a feature that will allow you to make an offshore report if you happen to be out on the lake and observe a bloom. That is not required, it's just a feature that we've added. You will see these capabilities as we walk through the online report. As Lynn mentioned earlier, you will be required to submit at least 1 online report each week, whether you see a bloom or not. We find that no bloom reports are as valuable as bloom reports because they provide us with an overall view of the lake and the conditions observed. So you are encouraged to submit more than 1 visual report each week, especially when lake conditions are changing or if you observe a bloom. For example, if you happen to have submitted a no bloom report on a Monday and 2 days later you see a bloom, we would ask that you please submit a second visual report. And this would apply to both sampling monitors and visual monitors. So let's walk through the form now. And I'm going to take you through 3 examples of submitting a no bloom report, submitting a bloom report, and finally submitting an offshore report. So Lindsay has pulled up the link here to the Canandaigua HAB survey and report, and we're going to use her information. And once you all do this once, some of this information will kind of self-populate, but let's start out. Lindsay, we're going to add your email address and name, and you'll see under type of report that the form defaults to Shoreline. So that's already been selected. The water body is already selected as Canandaigua. That's new this year. And then there's where you're going to enter your zone number. So there's a drop-down menu here. So Lindsay, why don't you pick your zone? And at this point, I want to just take a minute. Can you scroll to the bottom of the page, Lindsay, to where the map is? So that pin has now dropped in Lindsay's zone based on her entering her zone number. So this will happen for all of you as soon as you enter your zone number. So let's go back up to the zone number. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
And the next thing is the date and time. You see that that defaults to the current date and time, but that can also be changed through the pop-up menus. So if you didn't get a chance to enter a report, you're running out to dinner, you can do it the following day, but you're going to need to make note of when you saw the bloom. Make note of that if you don't enter it right at the moment. Under percent survey. So this is asking you what percentage of your zone did you survey? So for instance, again, there's a drop-down menu. If you survey 5 properties, if your zone covers 5 properties and you only had a chance to to survey 2 of the 5 properties, you would select the 25 to 50%. Bloom extent. So here again, we have a drop-down menu, which includes no bloom present, small localized, large localized, and widespread lake-wise. So small localized refers to just a few properties. It could be as small as a 10-foot by 2-foot bloom. It could extend, that would be small localized. It could extend to 1 or 2 houses. That would still be considered small localized. Large localized would be, I'd say, more than 3 houses, properties, and widespread lake-wide would describe as far as you can see. We rarely see that, fortunately. So Lindsay, why don't you pick no bloom here, because we're entering a no bloom present. Thank you. Current weather, again, is a drop down, and you're going to select the closest description. We will say it's clear. The weather in the past 24 hours, again, a drop down, select the best description of the weather. We'll say clear. And the wind direction. So in this one, it refers to where the wind is coming from. You can use a weather app here to confirm that if you don't have a flag or something like that. But generally here in Canandaigua Lake, we see it from the southwest. So why don't we pick the southwest, Lindsay? And then we have a box for special comments. And here we'd like to see some description, some additional description of the weather, such as air temperature and wind speed, which again, you can pull from a weather app. And you can also add into the comment box descriptors of the water conditions that you're observing. The reference to dots in the water, but no visible streaking might be appropriate to add in here. So Lindsay, I won't ask you to fill anything in there. Let's scroll down. We've seen that the pin is been dropped in Lindsay's zone. And here you would just click submit and you're done for a no bloom report. So as soon as you hit submit, you'll get the green check mark, which is good. And you're all done. So let's try one now, going through entering a bloom report. So here we've added some new features this year, but basically it's going to start with the same steps as before. So Lindsay, let's do that. We've got let's pick your zone number, and we'll let the date and time stay where it is. We'll pick a percent surveyed. Bloom extent. Okay, we're going to pick small localized here. Current weather. And a wind direction. And again, you could use the comment box here. So why don't you just put in light streaking over several properties and the air temperature, 90 degrees. So by checking the bloom present box, the form has generated a couple questions that we didn't see before. The first one is, did you take a sample? So for the visual reporters, this will always be no. But for right now, I just want to spend a minute, particularly for the sampling monitors, and click yes. So this is something new for the sampling monitors this year. As soon as you click yes, the form generates a sample number. So this is going to be your sample number ID. And that you're going to write onto your bottle, onto the label that goes onto your bottle, and also use on your chain of custody form. The number, if you look at it, you'll see it's the year, month, day with a dash and then your zone number. So that's just to show you how the sample ID is generated. So Lindsay, if you go back now and click no. And why don't we select here light algae levels, light streaking, heavier dots. And again, all these descriptors, it's similar to what we use in the SECI report description. So pick which one closest describes what you're seeing. So this is where we come again to a new section in submitting a bloom report. So now we have the photo uploads. So if you have observed a bloom, you will need to take at least 2 photos of the bloom. The first one should be a close-up shot of the bloom, maybe 3 to 6 feet away. And the second photo should be taken to give some context of the size of the bloom. So, and here's the neat feature that we've added this year. If you've enabled GPS location services on your phone when you've taken pictures, the program will pull the location data, the longitude and latitude, out of the photo. And now let's look down and see where the pin is moved. So if you recall, Lindsay put her zone in, which was at the north end of the lake, but I took these photos from my cottage. So the pin now has moved to where the photos were taken. So this is really kind of an awesome feature, and it becomes even more important. It gives us, number one, exact locations, not just a zone. But it becomes even more important in the offshore reporting. So that's it. We can hit submit here. And we've submitted a bloom report successfully. So Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind refreshing that, and then we will do quickly a offshore report. So you'll see Lindsay's going to add the same information. And now we're going to select offshore. Again, the water body's selected, and this is what's a little different here. So if you read under zone number, it says select the zone number or closest CSLAP point from the drop-down list. So as we mentioned before, we have 2 locations that CSLAP uses for their program. One's at the north end of the lake and one's closer to the south. So if you happen to be out in your boat and you see a bloom, kind of estimate whether you're in the north half of the lake or the south half of the lake. And let's let's say we're in the south half of the lake. So let's pick CSLAP South Site. Again, you're going to describe the bloom extent. This is a little more difficult because you're not, you don't have properties to compare them with here. The weather conditions are going to be the same as you've seen before. You can add descriptors again in here about the weather or what you're seeing in the bloom. In this situation, you will not be taking a sample. We can click an algae HABs descriptor. And Lindsay has a photo that she took out in the lake. and you will see the longitude and latitude put in there. And there she is in the middle of the lake. So that's how you would submit an offshore report. And again, that is nothing that's required. It's just, we thought it'd be great to be able to capture these events when people are out and have a way of reporting them. So that's about it. Hopefully you found this walkthrough helpful and easy to follow. With some practice, it will be very, very quick and a simple way to submit your reports. So speaking of practice, we would like everyone to submit a practice report tonight or in the next 24 hours. This way, if there are any difficulties, you can contact your regional coordinator so that we can get any challenges that you're having ironed out before the program begins on August 3rd. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lynn.
Thanks, Sally. Great job. The changes that our friend Bill at Pure Waters at Seneca Lake made to this online reporting form really should simplify this. So thank you, Bill, and thank you, Sally. But most importantly, thank you to you volunteers. We all on the HABs team are grateful for your commitment of time this summer, your interest in learning the science behind our methods and madness in many cases, passion for protecting and advocating for a healthier lake, and for your continued support of CLWA and our many efforts. So we will take about 5 minutes to answer your questions that you can type in through the little chat diagram at the bottom. If we don't get to yours, please check with your regional coordinator. And we'll follow up by email if there's several questions we don't get to. We said we were going to not take up your whole evening, and we know you're already donating a lot of your time this summer, and we appreciate that. So let me see.
So I'm happy to read through some of these questions.
Oh, okay. Super.
So Judy asks, can you send us a digital copy of the letter to the neighbors so that we can email it to people?
Of course. I was trying to figure out if I could do that while we were in this presentation, but we can follow up by email. Okay.
So, and then Nadia Harview, she's one of our program leaders and a really great volunteer for the organization. She's actually dropped the link for the ArcGIS form right in here. So you could copy that and paste it in a browser and bookmark it that way. Thank you for that, Nadia. And then a question came through. How can you tell if your iPhone camera is GPS enabled? Oh, that's always a very good question. I'm trying to remember exactly.
In settings.
It's in your settings.
Is it, we're still here, folks.
Yes.
Sorry about this.
Obviously, we all have them on and I've forgotten how to do it.
Right. Well, I think it's location.
Oh, okay, I see. If you go to your settings and you scroll down, you'll see a blue square with a white hand in it. It says privacy. If you click on that, the very top one says, the very top bar says location services. And you can either toggle that on or off. So mine says on, which is why I was able to pull the coordinates from my photo when I uploaded it. And I think we're happy to probably put this instructions for that in an email too. I know personally I'm an iPhone user. I don't know. I can't speak to the specifics for different types of phones, but I mean I know I'm personally happy to document how we do it on an iPhone and send that along. Okay, Tom and Sue, our zone number 3647 is not in the drop-down list. We will definitely look into that. This is why we want to iron out these kinks. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Tom and Sue, what's your last name? Anybody? Just to help me find it quickly.
O'Rourke.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
O'Rourke. Okay, another question. Should we send a photo when we see evidence of pre-bloom conditions? So I think we're referring to like maybe the dots in the water.
So
Go ahead, Lynn.
no, I was going to say, you go ahead, Sally.
Well, we discussed this afternoon. I think we'd like to see those photos probably sent to your regional coordinator, who can get them to us, and we can determine whether we want you to enter a report or not.
Okay. Margie OJ says, can we obtain additional harmful algae blooms? I have about 10 homes. Thanks. I think she means the brochures. Absolutely. We're happy to, anything that was included in your volunteer packets, we do have extra copies of. So I'm happy to, if you want to send me a note, like if there are extra copies of the HABs brochures or the dogs and harmful algal blooms brochures, send me an email and I can make arrangements to get you some. Either drop them off with your regional coordinator and you can pick them up from them, or drop them off at your home before the program officially begins.
This is Kathy Postma. Unfortunately, I typed in a chat, but I don't know how to send it. What if we see a bloom before official reporting starts?
I'd say to enter a bloom report.
Okay.
Yes. So once we get through the next 24 hours, when everybody does the test, I'm hoping we can clear out the tests. And then I think it should be live. What do you think, Sally?
Yes.
Okay.
We can talk to Bill. I can talk to Bill about that. We have a number of things to talk to him about. So
Patricia comments, I missed the beginning. Are you sending us the link in an email? Not sure of my zone number. We recorded this talk actually, so we're happy to send that out to those that weren't able to participate. Or if you wanted to go through how to submit a report again, you can usually just watch that. And then I'm not sure of my zone number. I think that information should be in your volunteer packets. If you look on the sheet that has the different regional coordinators and who they're quote unquote responsible for, I think it says their zone number on there. Please send GPS info for Androids. Also, yes, we can look that up. Okay, and then Sarah Linda comments, I'd like to put a link to the survey form on my phone home screen. The directions in the reference guide are for an iPhone using Safari, but not Chrome. Is there a way to do it with Chrome?
So Sarah Linda, I will answer that because I'm an iPhone user who also uses Chrome. And you cannot do it that way, but you can pull up Safari, which is what I did on my iPhone, even though I don't use it, and download the, create a link, an app on your home screen that way. And then you don't use Safari again, but the link will be working. I'm not sure that was very clear, but feel free to call me and I can walk you through how to do it.
She says, thanks, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
We'll try to do our best to pull like a resource sheet together that has kind of these nuances for the different types of phones. I know like if you're an iPhone user, you're really familiar with that technology. Android, I'm less familiar with, but I'm sure we can find some good information online, and we'll try and put together a little.
I think for the Android, it's even easier. So
great.
Because they're likely using Google. All right.
Okay, does anybody have any further questions? Well, thank you guys for taking the time tonight. I know we're all just so thrilled to have your participation in this program. I can speak for our board as well. I know some of them are on this call, others are not, but they're all very appreciative of the work that you're doing to help us monitor for HABs. I'm happy to, if there are questions offline, feel free to reach out. I usually have my cell phone number included at the bottom of my signature line of my email. So, I text pretty frequently. If you want to text, feel free to do that or give me a call. Lynn and Sally, is there any other information that we feel like we left hanging, or you want to jump in here?
No, just that we'll go through the few documents that we're missing. We'll clear up O'Rourke's missing zone with the DEC and our information to make sure it's entered correctly. And we'll be in touch by email, most likely, with the rest of these answers. So I agree. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.